Hello, Auction Nation. Today we're going to talk about the importance of live auction displays. I just got back from 3 days in the Adirondacks, upstate New York, where we were raising money for rural health care. And this particular group does a nice job of just overall setup, but that includes their live auction displays, which are large banners. I'll show you that. I'll throw it up here on the screen so you can take a look at that. And I just thought, you know what? Some people don't even do live auction displays, and I'm going to show why it's so important. I've got 4 reasons as to why we need to have a live auction display. And I want to go through those. I will say, for those of you who sent emails after my last video expressing, sharing the pain I had from being pickpocketed and losing all of my wallet, it was interesting to me because last week, I went to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, to get a new license. Well, it turns out that they've changed their process, and no longer do they print the plastic card at the DMV. Instead, you have to wait 7 to 10 days for it to come in the mail. And so instead, I get a piece of paper, no photo on it at all, and it just says, yes, this person is waiting for her driver's license and she's allowed to drive. And I said, well, I don't think this is going to allow me to get on a plane. What have I got going on here? And they said it won't allow you to get on a plane. You'll have to use like a passport for that. And I'm like, my passport was stolen too. So you know what I did? I thankfully had saved an old driver's license that had void punched out of it. I used that at the airport to get onto the plane, and it worked. And then it also worked when I rented my car. So fortunately, I didn't have any issues, because I was wondering when I showed up at the airport, I'm like, well, this will be interesting. I wonder what's going to happen here. But I made it all as well. Still waiting for my driver's license, which should come here in, I don't know, I guess the next week. All right. So anywho, let's talk about live auction displays. It always amazes me that we will have somebody who has a silent auction item. It's worth $50, and we've got a beautiful display for it. And then we don't have any displays for the live auction items, whereby we're hoping to raise $5,000 on those. Doesn't make sense at all, folks. Put your energy into what's going to make you the most money. That's the live auction. It's not the silent. I'd rather the silent completely be online and have a display for the live than have a display for the silent and nothing for the live. You got to have a display for the live, and here's why. Number one, live auction displays serve as activities in the silent auction reception period. So even if I am not going to be bidding on the live auction at all, I know I don't have the money for it, I don't have the interest in the items, whatever the case might be, it serves as something that I can go to with my friends, my boyfriend, spouse, whomever, and I can sit there and look at them. It's something to do. I can imagine what it would be like to go to this trip to Maine or this trip to Italy or wherever it was. It's fun. Oh, that would be fun. Oh, look at that. We could go to the horse track. It's something to do. So that's the first reason. Number two, and this is the most important one, it prepares your bidders and gets them ready to buy. Educated bidders are better bidders, not drunk bidders, by the way. People like to joke, oh, let's get them liquored up. No, drunk bidders are slow bidders. Slow bidders are not good bidders. We like bidders. I like bidders who are educated. They know exactly what they're getting. They're not going to have complaints later. They're going in there prepared. Case in point, we sold several dinners this past weekend, and we had some trips that accommodated, a group of people. And I had a guest come up to me, and they were like, oh, we could do that with our table. We could bid on that together with our table at one of the dinners. That allows them the time before the auction starts to talk with their table about what they're prepared to bid. I had 2 dinners that were aggressively bid on by tables. The other thing is that even if their friends aren't there, they can call. So if they see the trip, the vacation, and they're like, hey, they've got a trip to Disney here, they can call mom and dad, grandma, grandpa. They can figure out if other people want to go in with them on the bidding in order to get those prices up. So instead of 1 wallet, we've now got 3 wallets that are coming in to help try to win that trip to Disney. That makes a difference. But if they just hear about it for the first time when I'm up on the stage, they are not prepared to win. Okay, here's a great example. I was working with one of my school auctions a few years ago. This still sticks in my head. It was a dinner with the head of school. And over here on the, maybe I've even told this in a video before. If I have, forgive me. But we're going back and forth on this dinner. And over on this side, I've got a table, and it's primarily a woman who is bidding on this, but her hand is going up every time. I mean, she's kind of looking at her friends at the table, but it's just popping up every time I ask. We're at 3,035, and I go over here to the table, and this was a group of graduates. They were, I mean, like probably in their 40s, but they had graduated from this particular school, and the guys were kind of running this together. So they'd lean forward and they would talk to each other like, do we really want to bid again? And then one of them would kind of slowly raise his hand. So what did I say? What's over here? 35. And it would be like, lean forward, back, 3,504. And her hand was up, and I'd be back over here, and they'd lean forward, and then they'd bid 45, 5,000, would get a 55 and lean forward. It was like that, painful, taken forever. They didn't win. Afterwards, I went over, talked to them, and they said, we just weren't organized. This is our first auction here. We didn't know what was going on. Next year, we'll be better prepared. That's what I'm saying, is like, that specific situation, I saw some turning back and forth at the tables this past weekend, but that's what I'm talking about. This happens very frequently at our events. You want educated bidders. Third reason to have a live auction display is it better prepares your auctioneer. Now, I'm very prepared when I go into my auctions, but inevitably somebody will educate me. Case in point, we'll have a big vacation domain. Somebody comes up to me and says, oh, I've been to I bought that 3 years ago. Oh, great. Now I've got some good information. So I'll sit there and talk to her. I said, you did? I said, well, what did you like most about it? She says, you know what? There's this restaurant. It's about a half a block away. I mean, there's a bunch of restaurants there, but there's this one restaurant. It's this fish place, the fish market, something like that is what it's called. She says, that place is so good. She said, we would go, we were there 7 nights. We went there 4 nights out of the 7 for dinner. It was that good. Well, guess what I'm doing as soon as she leaves? I'm looking on my phone. Is the fish market still there? Yep, reading the reviews. Okay, I'm ready to go now. When I'm describing this house, I'll say, I was talking to Dolores. Dolores said that she went 3 years ago. The fish market is half a block away, folks. It's got a 5 out of 5 star review on Yelp. You're going to want to eat there. So I'm adding some extra information to the package thanks to the conversation that I had. Or another example, I was at an event a few years ago. They wanted to know if it was wheelchair accessible, that this particular house, I think it was in Spain. So it was ground level, but when you're dealing with properties in Europe, your ground level, your first level is the first, like what would be our second floor here in the US. I think I got that right. So they wanted to know, is there an elevator? So if they were bidding on this, would they be able to accommodate that in a wheelchair? And that might be true too. If you've got a home, maybe it's a big beach home that we're bidding on, and they want to know if there's an elevator in the house because they maybe want to take grandma and grandpa, and maybe they don't do stairs very well. Well, that might not be something that would be in the description, but if I have a conversation with somebody about it, then I can add that in. Yes, there is an elevator. Or, friends, I did have a couple of questions about whether or not this is wheelchair accessible. It is not. I just am able to answer that question. So it makes the auctioneer smarter as well. And finally, it promotes your donors who gave these big items. So not to say we don't want to promote the donors who gave the silent auction item that's worth $50, but if we've got an item worth $5,000 and we're not even promoting it in a display, I mean, that donor deserves some darn good love. Here's an example from this past weekend. 2 days before the gala, maybe 3 days, they had a donation that came in that was so nice, we knew we had to put it into the live auction. It's a dinner with a professional chef, and the company is one of those concierge companies. So like if you're going to a vacation area and you want your house stocked for 2 weeks with the favorite foods of your family, and you want to have help getting all your excursions planned. So they're doing that. Brand new company, they just launched. And to kind of get their name out, they had donated this because one of the items that they're going to be offering as part of their services are really nice chef meals. So I was at the live auction display talking to guests, and one guest came over and she said, she's looking at the name of the donor and she's like, oh, now where are they located? Because she thought it was a restaurant because it was a chef meal. I said, oh, I said, no, ma'am, this isn't a restaurant. I said, this is a concierge company. They just started their business. I explained a little bit about what they were planning on doing. And she's like, oh, okay, all right. So now she had that conversation with me. What did I do when I got up on stage? I talked about this new company in town and what they were doing. And then I described the item. So that extra love for your donors would make them want to donate again. This happens a lot. You know, last fall, I was in Connecticut working with a group that saves land, right? It's a land resource and environmental land nonprofit. And they had a woman who had donated a package, and she does a lot in the travel industry. She came over to me and she said, I want to know, this is usually what they say, what are you going to start my package at? So then I have to explain the difference between a starting bid and a finishing bid. But anyway, the concern that she had was that she had donated this same package to a different nonprofit in the area, and that auctioneer sold it for less than $5,000, which is what she had in it. And she didn't want me to sell this package for less than $5,000. If that's the case, she said, I'd rather just give $5,000 to the nonprofit and we don't sell the package at all, because I've got $5,000 in it. And so I'm not going to pull this together unless we get at least that. So I spent a long time talking to her, making sure I understood the package fully. I mean, again, I had done my research, but wanted to have her talk and provide her information on that as well. And we sold it for over $5,000. But she wanted to make sure that it was done right. Now, that donor is not going to donate again to that other group because they didn't do it right. But I know that she'll donate to my group that I was working with because we got the number that she wanted. It was, in fact, she came up to me afterwards and thanked me for articulating what she had wanted me to articulate. So all of that plays into how your event is going to be perceived the following year too. You want to have happy donors, especially on those big live auction items. So those 4 reasons are why you want to have a live auction display. It's an activity, even for those who are not going to bid. It prepares your bidders, and educated bidders are better buyers. Number 3, it prepares your auctioneer. And number 4, it promotes the donors of those items. If you found this video helpful, I'd sure appreciate it if you subscribe, like, or share with other gala chairs that you know are planning auctions. And if you want more information on auctions, or me for that matter, you can head over to my website. That's redappleauctions.com. I've got a lot of resources on there to help you plan your most profitable gala auction yet. Thanks for watching.